baby. We're having a baby. We're about to embark on a journey of a lifetime. Now, this adventure is going to take us all over the world. We're going to hear stories and talk about ideas that you will never forget. You can think about us as your tour guides. We're here to point out some good stuff to stop and look at along the way.
So Alpha is 12 sessions designed to engage us in a conversation about some of life's most important questions. We want to provoke you to think about what you believe and how you feel about certain faith issues.
This isn't going to be a lecture where Ben and I do all the talking. Instead, during Alpha, you're going to get a chance to talk in small groups and ask questions as they come up.
But before we go any further, I'm Ben, this is Jason, and we want to welcome you to Alpha.
The average life expectancy in the developed world is about 80 years. But what are we supposed to do with 80 years on planet Earth?
Hey, what's the point of all this time? Or more importantly, is there even a point at all?
Alpha is all about asking life's biggest questions. But it can be a bit weird talking about something like life. It really is something we just do. Every day we wake up, get dressed, eat breakfast, maybe some cereal. Then we go to school, sit in class, probably do some homework, maybe talk to some friends. Then we go home, go back to bed, and do it all over again the next day. It just sort of happens.
That's quite hard.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe the bungee jumping?
Yeah, something nuts like cliff diving, you know.
Skydive, kayak, hike.
Get a big fast jet, head to New Zealand.
I think I'd go skydiving.
Well, I play music, so I think primarily I would probably just play an unbelievable show.
Being here, we'd probably like hit up the skate park, then go to the beach.
So I'd probably travel to definitely Australia. Yeah, I'd like to go to Australia.
I don't know, I'd probably go hang out with people, my family, you know, spend that time with them.
I would probably try to visit a place that I would always want to go to.
I would get together, play some music with my friends.
I'd probably spend a lot of time with my family.
Spend all my money and go shopping, go to the spa and just do a bunch of fun things.
If I actually only had 24 hours left to live, I wouldn't waste my time cleaning my room or washing my car or doing homework. But I think I'd find myself asking certain questions, important ones, about faith, love, and eternity.
On Alpha, we're going to have some honest conversations about life and God. We're going to look at these things from a Christian perspective. Now, I know that even mentioning Christianity brings up a lot of mixed thoughts, and that's totally okay.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I remember one of my friends told me that believing in God was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. It was like I told him I believed in Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny.
Or maybe you think Christianity is boring. I know I used to think that. I thought it was all about hanging out with old people, singing old songs, drinking tea, and reciting rules from a really old book.
Yeah, for me, my biggest struggle with Christianity wasn't that it was far-fetched or that it was boring. For me, I simply couldn't understand how it had any impact on my life. I remember back in grade 8, I was going through a really tough time. I felt like I didn't have any friends at school that really liked me, and I felt like no one at home understood me. I used to fight with my parents over anything. One time, when I was really upset, I don't even remember what it was about, but my dad wanted to help me pass me a Bible and recommend that I read it. But when he gave it to me, I took it and I threw it on the ground. I don't know exactly why I did it. I think it was because it seemed so useless to me. You might not have ever been in a situation quite like that before, but most of us have asked ourselves this question: is God worth my time?
Alpha could be one of the first times you've ever talked about this kind of stuff. It seems like there's a rule in society that says we're not supposed to talk about our personal beliefs. Let's take a few minutes right now to talk about why that might be.
For some reason, the class of things, the boundary that we draw around what religion is and what faith is,
We say those things are highly individual and should not be discussed and definitely should not be criticized.
I don't know, I don't find it awkward, but because I'm from a place in which everyone is Catholic, so.
Maybe people are against a religion, that's why they don't want to talk about it.
I'm personally not religious at all, but I'm not really afraid to talk about that because it's what I believe. I feel like everybody should do that.
It's something that people are so passionate about, right? If I was to come up to you and ask you to, in a brief conversation, justify your entire mindset, things might get a little heated.
People fear being rejected.
Yeah, I think it's like the biggest thing. People don't want to get on each other's bad terms by saying something, or they actually think about it, and whether other people might disagree.
Just keep it to yourself, that's what I say.
At the center of the Christian faith is a man named Jesus. He wasn't afraid to talk about issues that other people avoid. Jesus said some of the most outrageous things that I've ever heard. In John 14:6, he's quoted saying, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." This statement was controversial 2,000 years ago when Jesus first said it, and it's still controversial today. We want to crack open each of those statements and see what Jesus is saying.
Jesus says, "I am the way." But what does that mean for someone to say, "I am the way"? What is he the way to?
I know a man named David who has a really remarkable life. And hearing him talk about it really helps me understand this idea of Jesus being the way.
When I was young, at the age of about 12, my mother had a major nervous breakdown and she was hospitalized for extended periods of time. My father also struggled with alcoholism. I had two brothers and we were basically left in many ways to raise ourselves. Going to bed at night at the age of about 12, my mother, she tried to kill herself. My father was out drinking. And I remember through my tears saying, "God, if you're there, I hate you." I so hated God. I was so angry at God. I was so filled with bitterness and resentment. Those experiences marked me, and I decided the childhood that I had was not going to be my life. At the age of 18, I committed to the idea of becoming a millionaire by the age of 30. I was this ambitious, want to be a millionaire by the age of 30 kind of guy during the day, and at night I hung out with drug users and I scored dope and dealt dope and did whatever I had to do to keep that life going. The idea of being a millionaire had been achieved. I could go where I want, when I wanted. I had way more money than I ever hoped for, but I wasn't happy. And I realized that there's still a deep darkness inside of me, a void. I have epilepsy, and for some reason, I started having seizures more frequently. We have a lady who worked for us at that time in our home. Her name is Bonnie, and she was a very sweet lady, a Christian lady. Bonnie saw me after having a seizure one day, and she called my wife and she said that God had told her to come pray for me. And I said, well, I know it's not going to do any good, but I like Bonnie. So she prayed for us. And for some reason, I cried through that process. Didn't know why I was crying, but Bonnie left and we thanked her for coming over. So the next day, I saw a friend, a neighbor, who went to the same church Bonnie does. And I asked my friend, I said, "Hey, are you going to church tomorrow?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, do you mind if I come with you?" He says, "Sure." He was quite happy to bring me. So the next morning, we're standing in church together. And as the worship music begins, for some reason, I begin crying. And I don't know why I want to cry, but I'm crying and I can't control myself. And I'm doing everything in my power not to cry, but tears are running down my face. And in that moment, for the first time, his love for me was so real. The reality that he loved me was nothing short of completely and totally mind-blowing.
You might have heard of a band called Queen before. They're famous for songs like "We Will Rock You" or "Bohemian Rhapsody."
Yeah, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Another one, Bites the Dust. Right. Flash.
Yeah.
Under Pressure. Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
We're the Champions.
Yeah. Ben,
Bicycle.
Ben, we know you love to rock,
Seven
man.
Seas of Rock.
This guy loves Queen. Anyways, the lead singer.
Can't Stop Loving You.
The lead singer of a band, Queen, Freddie Mercury, is one of the biggest names in music. Even though he made millions of dollars and had millions of fans, those things didn't make him happy. In an interview shortly before his death, he admitted that he was lonely. He said, "You can have everything in the world and still be the loneliest man. And that's the most bitter type of loneliness. Success has brought me world idolization and millions of dollars, but it's prevented me from having the one thing we all need, a loving, ongoing relationship." When Jesus said, "I am the way," he was responding to that need. He's saying, I am the way to a loving and lasting relationship with God.
So I've heard of people saying that they know if something is true, but I've never heard of anyone claiming to be the truth. But Jesus goes on to say, I am the truth.
I want to clarify this word truth because it could mean different things for different people. Maybe you've heard somebody say, well, that's true for you, but I don't personally believe it. Now this sounds polite, but it falls apart quickly. If we're talking about facts, if something's true, isn't it true for everyone? And if something's not true, isn't it not true for anyone?
For example, imagine you find yourself on the edge of a cliff and someone says, I believe I can fly, I'm gonna jump. You wouldn't be like, well, that might be true for you, but I don't personally believe it. No, you'd say, don't jump, you're crazy. Whether you believe in gravity or not, it's real. And when we talk about the message of Christianity, we're not talking about something that's only true for a select group of people. The author of the Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis, put it this way: Christianity is a statement which, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The one thing it cannot be is moderately important.
So much of the world has been shaped by people who believe that Jesus really is the truth. Some people say that faith and science can't mix, but some of the most influential voices in science throughout history have been Christians. Galileo and Copernicus, Newton and Mendel. I'm personally inspired by Francis Collins. He was the director of the Human Genome Project, a project that's at the forefront of scientific discovery about our DNA. He's one of the most respected geneticists in the world. And in one of his books, he writes about how he became a Christian without having to compromise his intellect. Some people think that any intelligent person could not believe in Jesus. But history's been influenced by brilliant men and women who believe and continue to believe that faith and science complement one another.
When Jesus said that he was the truth, he was talking about more than intellectual truth. He wasn't just talking about knowing something with our minds, but also with our hearts. There's a big difference between knowing facts about someone and knowing them personally. For example, I know a lot about Oprah because Jay here doesn't stop talking about her. Yeah, pulling out the wallet.
Me and Oprah, Vancouver, 07.
Seen the picture a couple times today already. Thanks, man.
It's a good one.
It's a good one of you and Opes.
Anyways.
If I saw Oprah in the street, I'd recognize her, but she wouldn't recognize me because there's a big difference between knowing about someone and actually knowing them. In Jesus, we discover that truth isn't just a set of ideas, but a person that you can know. Christianity isn't about memorizing a set of rules, but about knowing God personally through Jesus.
I could ask God one thing.
Why he chooses to base everything off faith?
I'd probably just go with why.
Probably just the generic, what is the purpose of all of this?
Why is there terrorism?
Probably what happens after you die.
What happens after we die?
Maybe just like the things that I've been struggling with in my life. Maybe, just a word from him about how to get beyond that.
What should I do next?
Why are you so obsessed with being praised all the time? What's going on?
What happens when I die?
Why haven't you shown us yourself?
I'm interested in how the universe was created and what is after you die.
Why are there so many frailties with the planet?
I'd ask him, come on, tell me the truth. Is Earth really it? Is it the only life planet? Come on.
Jesus said, I am the life. Now it's possible to be alive, but not truly living. When I was in high school, I was always searching for a more fulfilling life. I was convinced that if I got my driver's license, that's when I'd be really free and happy. I got my license, but it didn't change my life as much as I thought it would. And then I thought, when I graduate, when I'm done high school, that's when I'll be really happy. And I graduated, and it was fun for a bit, but it didn't satisfy me. And then I thought, I know what I need. I need a girlfriend. That's it. So I got a girlfriend. And then another girlfriend. And then another. But I realized the hunger in my heart was still there. I had everything I thought I needed. But there was still something missing. There was a longing in my heart for something truer and deeper. It was a longing for life. Jesus was talking about that hunger when he said, I am the life.
There are so many things that creep into our lives and take away from the life God designed for us. Fear, insecurities, addictions, guilt, hopelessness. This isn't how God wants us to live. Jesus said, I came to give people life, and life to the fullest.
Whether you feel like something's missing or not, life with Jesus is completely different than life without him.
Once upon a time, there lived in jolly old England a young boy called Nicky. It was such a long time ago that the television in his family house was both massive and only showed pictures in black and white. Would you believe it? Worse still, there were only 3 channels. And even worse again, the picture kept disappearing into hundreds of fuzzy lines. The family did discover that they could make the picture better by standing next to the TV, by placing their hands down the back of the TV, even standing on certain floorboards helped. The big day came for the 1966 Soccer World Cup final. Just as England were about to score a goal, the picture disappeared yet again. Everyone was frantic. Then Nicky discovered that there was an aerial socket on the TV and a cable coming out of the wall attached to an aerial on the roof. All he had to do was make the connection. Now they could enjoy the rest of the game with the new picture, and their television viewing was never the same again.
Life with Jesus is like seeing clearly for the first time. I can remember the specific moment when I decided to trust Jesus with my life. It was August 2nd, and I was driving my dad's car home from a friend's house. I had spent months wrestling with questions about God and life, and at times, it felt like I was wrestling with God himself. On that sunny summer day, I decided to surrender my life to God. With tears coming down my cheeks, I told God that I wanted to follow his plan for my life, and that I wanted to begin a friendship with Jesus. It was a significant change in my life that day. It felt like a huge weight of hopelessness and guilt was taken off my shoulders. I felt a massive sense of relief and then joy in my heart. I felt loved by God, and I've never been the same since.
If you live to be 70 years old, this is how you're going to spend your life. You're going to spend 20 years and 3 months asleep, 10 years and 5 months watching TV, 7 years and 6 months eating and drinking, 5 years and 9 months in some form of transportation, 18 months waiting in line, and 6 months at red lights. It's alarming to think that some of us will spend more time at red lights than we will talking about important issues of faith and life.
We're going to take some time to ask some of life's biggest questions and explore the life and words of Jesus.
You have approximately 570,000 hours left to live, and we want to invite you to spend less than 24 of them with us on Alpha.